The breakthrough. Dr. Maya Sharma rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the holographic display hovering above her desk. For the fifth time that night, she ran the quantum field simulation, expecting the same failure she'd seen for months. The laboratory hummed with the familiar sounds of cooling systems and computation, a lullaby she'd grown accustomed to during her 3 years at the Quantum Research Institute. "Maya, you should go home. It's nearly midnight," said Dr. Kaido Nakamura, her research partner, his voice gentle but concerned. "Just one more run," she replied without looking up, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. I adjusted the harmonic resonance pattern. The instability might have been caused by asynchronous. The simulation erupted in a blinding flash of light, and the holographic display fractured into 1,000 geometric patterns that shouldn't have been possible. Instead of collapsing, they expanded, forming a perfect crystalline structure that rotated slowly in the air. "What the hell?" Kaido whispered, moving closer. Maya's heart pounded in her chest. "The quantum fields, they're stabilizing." That's impossible. "The energy readings are off the charts," Kaido said, checking a secondary display. "But they're not registering on any of our normal sensors. It's like the energy exists in a state perpendicular to normal spacetime." "We need to try this with actual particles," Maya said, already moving toward the quantum acceleration chamber. "If the simulation is accurate, we might have just discovered a new form of matter," Kaido suggested, following her. Maya shook her head, her voice barely audible. "No, a bridge." 12 hours later, Maya stood before the Institute's emergency board meeting, exhaustion forgotten in the wake of discovery. The room was filled with the world's foremost quantum physicists, hastily assembled after preliminary results were shared. "What you're describing is theoretically impossible," said Dr. Eliza Chen, the Institute's director, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying excitement. "A stable quantum tunnel that maintains coherence without massive energy input." "Not only stable," Maya replied, "but self-sustaining once established. The mathematics suggests it's creating a direct connection to." She hesitated, knowing how it would sound. "To another reality with slightly different quantum constants." The room erupted in disbelief and questions. Maya had expected this. What she hadn't expected was what happened next. The air in the center of the conference room shimmered, like heat rising from asphalt on a summer day. Papers scattered as a sudden wind swirled through the room, and a perfect sphere of light coalesced before them. "Security!" shouted Dr. Chen, but everyone remained frozen as the sphere expanded and then collapsed in on itself, leaving behind 3 figures that shouldn't exist. They appeared human at first glance, but subtle differences became apparent immediately. Their skin had a faint bluish tinge, and their eyes were larger than normal, with irises that shifted color like oil on water. "Greetings," said the tallest of them, a woman with silver hair despite her youthful appearance. "I am Ambassador Thera of the Unity Collective. Your quantum bridge creation has been detected, and we come in peace to welcome Earth to the multiversal community." Security personnel flooded the room, weapons drawn, but Dr. Chen raised a hand to halt them. What exactly is happening?" she asked, her scientific training barely keeping panic at bay. Ambassador Thera smiled. "Your brilliant scientist," she nodded toward Maya, "has discovered what thousands of civilizations across countless realities have also discovered, that the walls between dimensions are permeable. The multiverse is infinite, and now Earth has joined the network of connected realities." Maya stepped forward. "You've been monitoring us." "Of course," replied Thera. "All nascent bridge technologies are observed. It's necessary for the stability of the multiverse itself. Uncontrolled bridging can have catastrophic consequences." Over the following weeks, the world transformed. Governments established the Multiverse Research Initiative, MRI, with Maya as its director. The Unity Collective shared limited technology and knowledge, helping Earth establish controlled bridges to select realities, while warning of dangers that existed between dimensions. Maya worked tirelessly, expanding on her original breakthrough. While diplomatic relations were established with the Unity Collective and several other multiversal civilizations, she couldn't shake a persistent feeling of unease. "They're not telling us everything," she confided to Kaido one evening as they reviewed data from a recent bridge experiment. "Have you noticed how they guide our research away from certain avenues? They claim it's for safety, but you think they're hiding something?" Kaido asked, lowering his voice despite their secure lab. "I think they're afraid of something," Maya replied, "and I think it has to do with our approach to bridge physics. The Unity uses massive energy to force bridges open. Our method creates self-sustaining tunnels with minimal energy. That fundamental difference seems to make them nervous." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the security team. "Dr. Sharma, we've detected an unauthorized bridge forming in Sector 7. Maya and Kaido rushed to the containment area, where a swirling vortex of energy had appeared despite all security protocols. Unlike the controlled bridges they'd established, this one pulsed with an angry red light. Before security could lock down the area, the bridge stabilized and a single figure stepped through. Humanoid, but clearly not human, with angular features and skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Dr. Maya Sharma," the being said, its voice resonating oddly in the chamber. "I am Nexus, emissary of the Convergence. Your bridge technology has not gone unnoticed. The Unity Collective has been selective in what they've shared with you. Security Protocol Alpha," Maya shouted, and defensive systems activated around the chamber. Nexus seemed unperturbed. "The Convergence controls multiversal travel across thousands of realities. Your self-sustaining bridge technology threatens that control. The Unity knows this, but fears direct confrontation with us. What do you want?" Maya demanded. "To warn you," Nexus replied. "The Convergence will not allow your technology to spread. Surrender your research now, or face consequences beyond your comprehension. You have 3 of your Earth days to decide." With that, the being stepped back through the bridge, which collapsed in on itself, leaving behind only scorched floor panels and a terrified research team. "Get me the Unity ambassador," Maya ordered, her mind racing. "And contact every government involved in the MRI. We need to prepare." Maya knew humanity had just been thrust into a multiversal Cold War they barely understood. But if there was one thing humans had always excelled at, it was adapting to impossible situations. They would not surrender their place in the multiverse without a fight. The incursion. 72 hours after Nexus's warning, Maya stood in the newly constructed Multiversal Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens displayed real-time data from monitoring stations worldwide, all watching for unauthorized bridge formations. The Unity representatives are still claiming they can negotiate with the Convergence, General Sarah Rodriguez reported, her uniform crisp despite not having slept in over 30 hours. But they've also quietly moved defensive assets to their side of our established bridges. They're preparing for war while telling us to surrender, Maya concluded. How are our defensive preparations? Dr. Kato gestured to a holographic display. Based on what little we understand of convergence technology from Unity Intelligence, we've modified our satellite network to detect their bridge signatures. We've also distributed portable bridge disruptors to key locations. But Maya, his voice dropped, if even half of what the Unity tells us about convergence capabilities is true, we're severely outmatched. Maya nodded grimly. In the weeks since her discovery, humanity had made remarkable progress, but they were still infants in multiversal terms. The convergence had been traveling between realities for millennia. Dr. Sharma, a technician, called out. Multiple bridge signatures forming. They're bypassing our detection systems somehow. The command center erupted in controlled chaos as reports flooded in from around the globe. Bridges were opening simultaneously in 23 major cities across 6 continents. It's beginning, Maya whispered. On the main screen, Live footage showed a massive bridge forming in Times Square. Unlike the controlled silver blue of Unity bridges, or even the angry red of Nexus's appearance, these portals were a sickly green, reality itself seeming to tear open, rather than part cleanly. Armored figures poured through, firing weapons that distorted the air and turned solid matter into dust. NYPD and hastily deployed National Guard troops returned fire, their conventional weapons proving surprisingly effective against the invaders' armor. "They're not as advanced technologically as we feared," General Rodriguez observed, "but they're compensating with numbers and strategic deployment." Similar scenes played out worldwide. The convergence forces weren't targeting military installations or seats of government, but civilian infrastructure and research facilities, particularly those associated with quantum physics and bridge technology. "They're trying to set us back," Maya realized, "not conquer us outright. They want to eliminate our bridge technology and keep us contained." A priority communication interrupted them, the Unity ambassador requesting emergency contact. Maya authorized the connection, and Thera's face appeared on screen, her usual composure shattered. "The Convergence has launched simultaneous attacks on 7 Unity worlds," she reported, genuine fear in her shifting eyes. "This is unprecedented. They've never committed to open warfare on this scale before." "Your intelligence said they were cautious and strategic," Maya accused. "This seems neither." "Your technology frightens them more than we realized," Thera admitted. "Self-sustaining bridges threaten their entire power structure. If civilizations can create stable bridges without massive energy requirements, their monopoly on multiversal travel collapses," Maya finished. "We can send limited support to your world," Thera offered, "but most of our forces are defending our core worlds. You need to hold out until—" The communication abruptly terminated as an alarm blared through the command center. "Bridge forming," shouted a technician inside the facility. Security teams rushed to defensive positions as a bridge materialized directly in the command center. Instead of Convergence troops, a single figure emerged, a human woman who looked identical to Maya herself, but with streaks of gray in her hair and a deep scar running down one cheek. "Hold your fire," the newcomer shouted, hands raised. "I'm Dr. Maya Sharma of Earth 217. I'm here to help." Maya stared at her doppelganger in shock. "How?" "No time," her alternate self interrupted. "On my Earth, the Convergence attacked 6 months ago. We developed countermeasures, but too late to save our world. I've come to give you what we discovered." Over the next hours, Maya worked alongside her alternate self, comparing notes on bridge physics. The other Maya had pushed their shared breakthrough in directions Maya hadn't yet explored. "The key is in the quantum resonance patterns," explained Maya 217, pointing to equations that made Maya's eyes widen. "Your initial discovery was more fundamental than you realized. Convergence bridges force their way through reality. Unity bridges create tunnels through it, but our bridges fold reality itself. That's why the Convergence is so afraid," Maya whispered. "Our method doesn't just threaten their monopoly, it renders their entire approach obsolete." "Exactly. And I developed this." Maya 217 handed over a data crystal. "The schematics for what we call the resonance shield. It doesn't just block their bridges, it redirects them. We only managed to build a prototype before our world fell, but the theory is sound." A technician burst into the lab. "Dr. Sharma, Convergence forces have breached perimeters in London, Beijing, and Sao Paulo. They're targeting power grids and quantum research centers." Maya made a quick decision. "General Rodriguez, I need a strike team. The components we need for the resonance shield don't exist on our Earth. We need to make a controlled jump to Unity space." "That's insanely risky," cautioned Kaito. "The Convergence will be watching all active bridges." "Which is why we won't use an existing bridge," Maya countered. "We'll create a new one, using my latest refinements. The Convergence won't be able to detect it until we're already through." 12 hours later, Maya led a small team through a shimmering bridge of her own creation. Unlike previous bridges, this one made barely a whisper as reality folded around them. They emerged in a Unity research facility on a world with 2 suns and a sky the color of amethyst. "Remarkable," breathed the Unity scientist who greeted them. "Your bridge created minimal quantum disturbance. Our sensors barely detected it. We need your help," Maya explained quickly. "Components for this device." She shared the schematics for the resonant shield. The Unity scientist studied them, his color-shifting eyes widening. This would work, but these components, they're restricted technology. The collective council would need to approve. "Your worlds are under attack too," Maya interrupted. "We don't have time for bureaucracy." After tense negotiations, the Unity agreed to provide the needed technology in exchange for Maya's bridge advancements. Within hours, they were heading back to Earth with everything needed to build the resonant shield. They returned to find the situation deteriorating. Convergence forces had established footholds in major cities worldwide, and conventional militaries were taking heavy casualties, despite inflicting significant damage on the invaders. "We've identified their command structure," reported General Rodriguez as Maya's team returned to the mountain facility. "They're coordinating through larger bridges in orbit. Our space-based assets have confirmed at least 7 motherships, each maintaining a major bridge." "Then that's where we need to deploy the shield," Maya decided. "Not defensively on the ground, but offensively in orbit." "That's not what the shield was designed for," objected Maya 217. "No, but the principles are the same," Maya insisted. "Instead of redirecting their bridges away from Earth, we redirect them back to their points of origin." The plan was audacious and desperate. Exactly the kind of approach that might work precisely because the convergence would never expect it. As convergence forces pushed closer to the remaining safe zones, humanity prepared its counterstrike. Humanity ascendant. 5 days into the convergence invasion, Earth's combined militaries had managed to contain the ground forces, but at a terrible cost. Major cities lay in ruins, millions were displaced, and the convergence orbital platforms continued to send reinforcements through massive bridges in the upper atmosphere. In a hardened bunker beneath what remained of Geneva, Maya put the finishing touches on the modified resonance shield. The device looked deceptively simple, a spherical object about the size of a basketball, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. "The quantum entanglement is stable," she announced to the gathered military and scientific leaders. "When activated, it should create a cascading resonance effect that will propagate through all convergence bridges connected to their command ships." "Should?" questioned General Rodriguez. "No one has ever attempted anything like this," Maya admitted. "We're pushing well beyond theoretical models now." The plan was to deploy the shield via a modified ICBM, threading it through gaps in the convergence orbital defenses. Once in position, it would activate, hopefully redirecting the invaders' bridges back upon themselves. "If this works," Kaido cautioned, "we'll be making a very powerful enemy. The convergence won't forgive being forced out of our reality." "If this doesn't work, there won't be much of humanity left to forgive anything," countered Maya 217, who had chosen to remain on this Earth rather than return to her ruined timeline. The launch window arrived. With global coordination that would have seemed impossible weeks earlier, Earth's remaining military forces launched a simultaneous offensive against convergence ground positions, drawing attention away from the single missile that rose from a submarine in the Indian Ocean. In the Geneva bunker, Maya and her team watched tensely as the missile ascended. Convergence point defense systems destroyed 2 decoy missiles, but somehow missed the actual payload. The shield reached its designated coordinates and activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Maya's instruments detected a quantum cascade building exponentially. On screens showing orbital views, the massive convergence bridges began to distort, their sickly green energy fluctuating wildly. "It's working," exclaimed Kaido. "The resonance is propagating through their bridge network." The effect spread rapidly. Convergence bridges worldwide began to collapse or, more spectacularly, to fold back on themselves. Ground forces found themselves suddenly cut off from reinforcements and supplies. On the orbital platforms, sensors detected chaos as the redirected bridges began depositing forces back onto their own ships, or in some cases, sending them to entirely different coordinates in the multiverse. Within hours, the remaining convergence ground forces were in full retreat, using emergency extraction devices to escape Earth before their way home was completely cut off. The orbital platforms, their bridges now completely destabilized, began emergency jumps out of Earth's reality. "We did it," breathed Maya, exhausted but triumphant. They're retreating. But victory came with questions. As Earth began the long process of rebuilding, delegations arrived from not only the Unity Collective, but from dozens of other multiversal civilizations, many of which had been suffering under convergence influence or aggression for centuries. "Your achievement is unprecedented," Ambassador Thera admitted during a global conference 3 months after the invasion. "No world has ever repelled a full convergence incursion, let alone turned their own technology against them. We didn't do it alone," Maya pointed out. "We had help from both the Unity and an alternate Earth. Nevertheless, it was human ingenuity that created the resonant shield," said another delegate, a crystalline being that communicated through pulses of light. "The convergence has dominated multiversal travel for millennia because their approach, brute force technology requiring massive energy, made them gatekeepers to the multiverse. Your approach changes everything." In the months that followed, Earth became the center of a new multiversal alliance. The resonant shield technology was refined and shared with oppressed worlds, while Maya's bridge physics led to an explosion of new theories and approaches to multiversal travel. 1 year after her initial breakthrough, Maya stood on a platform in the newly constructed multiversal nexus in what had once been Geneva. Before her stretched bridges to 17 allied realities, each one established using Earth's revolutionary folding technique rather than the brute force approaches of the past. "The convergence is regrouping," Kaido reported, joining her on the platform. "Our scouts report they've abandoned at least 30 subjugated worlds and are consolidating around their core territories." "And the Unity?" Maya asked. "Undergoing significant political reform," he replied with a smile. "Turns out many member worlds were unhappy with how their leadership handled the convergence threat. They're restructuring their entire approach to multiversal relations." Maya nodded, gazing at the bridges before her, each one a window to a different version of reality, each one a testament to human persistence and adaptability. "You know," said Maya 217, approaching from another bridge where she'd been coordinating with allies, "when I came to your Earth, I thought I was offering salvation to a doomed world. Instead, I found myself part of something much bigger. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to face the impossible and find a way through," Maya replied. "The multiverse is infinite, and now so are our possibilities." As delegates from across reality gathered in the Nexus, Maya couldn't help but smile at the irony. The convergence had attacked Earth to prevent humans from spreading their revolutionary approach to bridge physics throughout the multiverse. In doing so, they had accelerated the very future they feared most. Earth was no longer just a single planet in a vast cosmos. It was the cornerstone of a new multiversal order, one built not on domination and control, but on innovation and cooperation. The day Maya Sharma had opened the first bridge had changed everything, not just for humanity, but for countless realities across the infinite expanse of the multiverse. The age of convergence was ending. The age of humanity had just begun.